Hi, my name is Heather Alderman. I am the Executive Director of COSMA, and I'm here today with Dr. Tony Weaver from Elon University. COSMA is conducting a series of interviews with sport management faculty who also hold administrative positions, just to get a sense of their personal stories and to see how they got there and what it's like. So Tony, could you please introduce yourself and let us know what your title is?
Yeah, thanks, Heather. I appreciate you doing this. Tony Weaver. I'm the Associate Dean in the School of Communications at Elon University. I'm a professor of sport management. My background obviously came through the Department of Sport Management. Looking forward to chatting today.
Yes, me too. So how did you get this title of Associate Dean?
Good question. I was a department chair for 5 years in our Department of Sport Management, and at Elon, the Sport Management Department sits in the School of Communications, which is I think unusual for most sport management departments.
Yes.
So was in the School of Communications for 10 years as an associate professor, and then again as the chair. Prior to that, we were in the School of Education, and so in some ways that move to different schools gave me a little bit of a broader view of how the university operates. About 2 years ago, our former associate dean was considering retiring, and he had been in his role was accreditation and assessment and academic affairs, and those are things that obviously I had some interest in, some background in, some experience in, and so when he decided to retire, it was a position that I felt I could transition nicely into with some of the other experiences as a chair. And so when the position opened up, one thing led to another. Put my name in and was able to start in this position in January of this year.
Great. And how did you skip over assistant dean, or is that not necessarily?
We have associate deans here that are kind of faculty rank, and so assistant dean titles, generally speaking, at Elon are more on the staff and administration side. And so it's I guess a fair question, and I guess a benefit of just kind of how we the organizational structure of one university versus the other, and so. Right. For us, it was as a faculty member moving into a faculty, essentially a faculty support role in an administrative position. You start as an associate dean.
Okay. And so you were talking about getting to know the education department and then getting to know the communications department, and that those experiences helped you prepare. What else did you feel like you needed to do besides being the chair also of sport management? Or was there anything that you did as you were applying or shortly after you actually got the job? What kind of other types of preparation did you need?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because I would say this: I didn't necessarily prepare to be an associate dean in the School of Communications when I first got into teaching. And so I think the way I prepared for any position, first and foremost, is I just tried to do a really good job in the position that I was in. And so I just tried to really understand the current position and not really look to the next position until it became apparent that there was a position available. I think sometimes really anyone, you can get caught in the idea of looking to the next job rather than just doing the job that you're in. And so the way I prepared for associate dean is just to try to really not just be a good department chair, but really try to do it to the best of my abilities. And so that was kind of my strategy. Prior to me moving over to faculty, I came to Elon in 2004 as a faculty member. I was in athletic administration for about 10 years. And so I think a lot of what I did in college athletics transitioned nicely and helped me get ready for some of the issues and challenges that you deal with as an administrator. And one of them being, and I found this in athletics too, you get further and further away from the student, or in athletics, the student athlete, as you kind of move up. And so I think that can be a surprise for me. I was kind of ready to, I knew that that was part of the experience, that I wouldn't teach as much. I probably wouldn't advise as much, and I wouldn't see students as much. And so
Right.
I was prepared for that. And I
Mhm.
think that can be a big adjustment.
Mhm.
And so there are things that I think I did in my, I guess my previous life prior to faculty that helped me prepare. And I just never kind of forgot some of those things and some of those lessons that I learned
Mhm.
as I was moving through faculty. But you know, I would say it wasn't there wasn't anything that I did to purposely put myself in this position. I just tried to do the best job that I could do as an assistant professor, and then from assistant to associate and associate to full, and
Right.
as chair, and that's what worked for me, and
Right.
that's still a strategy I have today.
Yeah. And you still teach, right?
I do, yeah. I have a
Okay.
2 course load, so I'll do
Okay.
1 course per semester, and that can also be negotiated. But that's the current schedule that I have, and I try to at least teach 1 class in our discipline. So I
Yes.
teach a sport management class, and then I also teach in part of our general core.
Oh,
And again, I think that's a great way to get to meet students outside of your department or your discipline, and again, to understand other parts of the university
right.
and how it operates. So I'm trying to do at least that, and then find other ways to try to get into the classroom, whether it's through guest lecturing or just visiting.
Are there any other ways in which you've been able to get to know other parts of the university that you haven't talked about yet, or feel
Yeah.
like you don't know enough about and you are still a
Oh.
little bit, in the dark?
Yeah, I think, I would say, even as a chair, I would say, yeah, there was parts of the job that I was still learning every day. And so I think as an associate dean, I feel the same way.
Mhm.
There's new challenges and new questions that arise. Um, the one part I would say that still learning is I've been introduced now to administrators at a different level. So as a
Mm.
chair, you have a tendency to work with associate deans and deans. And now as an associate dean, I still work with the chairs. They report up to this position. And so I work with them on a daily basis. But I also now obviously work with administrators in the provost's office and the president's office and advancement.
Right.
And so extending the other types of administrators, student life,
Yeah.
and just understanding what they do, the registrar's office,
Oh,
the
yes.
bursar's office, right? Few more calls from external constituents,
Mm.
whether it's alumni or parents. I think we deal with that at the chair level as well, but I think a different type of call or a different type of opportunity or challenge exists when I think they come into this office. And so I would say the job is always evolving, and we're still learning. And
Mhm.
then obviously, you, the role that I have with accreditation has introduced me to,
Right.
again, a different level, not just with Cosmo, but our School of Communications is also accredited by a communications agents accreditation body, and so working with them as well.
Right.
So essentially working with two different accreditation bodies, and then
Yeah.
our university accreditation body. So we have, there's 3
Yes.
different types of accreditation bodies that I work with, that, we're representing the School of Communications and the Department of Sport Management.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I certainly understand that. Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, what types of challenges do you feel like you face as an associate dean?
So the biggest challenge that I think maybe a lot of us are facing right now as an associate dean, and again, not just my position, but whether it's day-to-day budgeting concerns or just the forecasting of where some of the revenue is going to come in and how we're going to manage it,
Yeah.
and then how we obviously spend it, I think is just something that on a daily basis, we got to keep an eye
Right.
on. And then, one of our challenges, again, I think across higher ed, but one that I pay attention to is really making sure that our chairs are doing well.
Mm.
So just kind of the welcoming back of trying to get people back to campus and to get into an environment that we feel good about. And it's, I think a lot of us, Elon believes in a very highly engaged environment, and that creates challenges, obviously, through COVID. And so I don't know that I know we're not there yet. I know we're not back to a completely comfortable classroom.
Right.
And so, a lot of times I'm just trying to check in and make sure that our chairs feel good, because if our chairs feel good, then hopefully our faculty are doing well.
Right.
And certainly even reaching down to some of our faculty to kind of check in with them. And then, of course, always keeping an eye on our students. And, while you're trying to do that, also, uplifting some of the things that we're really proud of, and trying to maintain excellence in teaching, trying to maintain excellence in study abroad and undergraduate research.
Right.
While you're dealing with all these other challenges, I think is really kind of that's my current environment. And I think that's one that I'm sure we're all going through.
Yeah.
But we spend a lot of time thinking about it and worrying about it, and trying to figure out solutions to it. And I think it is getting better. I think we're doing very well here, but I also appreciate that, that could change in a day. It could change in a moment. So we got to be prepared for that.
Right. Do you have any advice or words of wisdom based on your own experiences in getting to this position for anyone, maybe a junior faculty person, maybe even a doc student, somebody who eventually may decide or may be thinking already about taking on an administrative role as they advance in their career?
Yeah, lots of advice, and a lot of things I tell myself, 20 years earlier. I think one of the things I did, my PhD was in higher ed administration and curriculum and instruction. And to be perfectly honest, it was not designed to be on the faculty side. I was doing that while I was in athletic administration. So my assumption was I was going to essentially use that doctorate to advance in athletics.
Right.
What I've since found is that it didn't have to be that specific. It obviously helped me with sport management and how I teach sport management and my discipline and my background. And so, I studied college athletics, and so there was a tremendous benefit just from my ability to teach. But what I found is that has helped me quite a bit. And so even if your terminal degree is not necessarily in curriculum instruction or higher education, I would say even if you have a little bit of interest in potentially understanding how administration works, to read about it, to gain knowledge about it, to interview others that are in the position, informally just ask questions. In some ways, I was forced to read about it, but I think it was really, really beneficial. It opened my eyes to a wider view of higher education, which if I only stayed in kind of the athletics side of things, I don't know that I would have been introduced to that. And I guess now I have an appreciation for how different parts of a university work. And so I understand that when maybe things don't go the way I see it, or the way the School of Communications might have wanted it to go, that perhaps it was to benefit somebody else on campus, right? And so I think it's kind of helped me understand decision making and really how other administrators might think on campus. Even though we're all on the same team and we all want to do the same things, we might not all benefit the same way. And so I would tell certainly anyone that's interested in something like this is at the very least, read about it, read articles about it, read, Chronicle of Higher Education, stay aware, Inside Higher Ed, diversity issues in higher ed. Those are just kind of great check-ins just to see kind of how people are thinking. And then, one of the things that I've done recently, thanks to you and to Cosma and to administrators who've been kind to me, I guess I always thought that a sport management background might not get you into administration. And so I've been pleasantly surprised to have a group of mentors that I've been introduced to that do have a sport management background and have been very successful in administration. And so maybe part of me just thought that was not going to be possible. Whereas to kind of see people in the role that have come from our discipline
Mhm.
think really helped. And so when you get the opportunity to meet people or to talk to people who are in those roles, to sit down and ask questions, and
Yeah.
to rely on them and to learn their story, because it's helped me. Maybe I was really naive in that wasn't going to happen, but for me it did, and a lot of it is because I was aware of some of the things that might come down.
Right. And do you see any faculty, let's say in your sport management department in the School of Communications, who have some potential for going into administrative roles? And how do you groom them, or how do you talk to them? Do you kind of put your feelers out to see if they're interested?
Yeah, I think, it's kind of funny, Heather. I think, sport management, the discipline, I feel like a lot of our faculty, first of all, I think we're good with people, right? We're in a discipline where we have to work with people all the time, and
Right.
we're teaching students how to work with people. And
Right.
so, there's a little bit of a natural transition to someone who might want to take on a leadership role.
Mhm.
And so specifically in our department, I would say, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of faculty that I could really see taking on numerous leadership roles and across campus, including something like an associate dean or a dean. But um, what I would try to tell them, or what I do tell them, is kind of what I use for myself is, hey, listen, do a great job in what you're doing.
Right.
And then when you get an opportunity to take small steps in leadership, it might be even chairing a university committee. It could be a fellows position on campus. It could be undergraduate research and mentoring.
Mm.
Do those things, because university administrators are gonna see it, other faculty are gonna see it, your peers are gonna see it. And again, same idea, do a good job when you're doing that. So don't just chair a committee and kind of go through the motions, but do it really, really well.
Right.
Um, a lot of times, and again, I think this is across industries, when you're doing a good job, people kind of recognize you, and you don't have to go searching for things.
Mm.
People kind of start finding you. And I just think that's one, it's a lot easier to find a job when people are coming to you.
Mhm.
And then you can have, I think, honest conversations about what your skills and talents are and what they're looking for.
Mhm.
And so I try to give that advice to our faculty. And then I also would say, you got to recognize when faculty aren't interested in doing this, and that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
we really, and again, at Elon, and I would think most places, we really do need really strong faculty in the classroom. And so there's great value in not moving on to administration and staying committed to teaching and
Right.
being an excellent teacher. And so
Yes.
in some cases, just talking about it and just deciding on what might be best for them at that time in their career. And so not trying to discourage them from only teaching and talking down about it.
Right.
I think that's, again, it's the most important thing we do here. And so
Right.
just because someone is really talented and we appreciate all the work they're doing, doesn't mean that they have to then, move up in administration to have success. That's our train that goes
Yeah.
by the campus.
We
It
have a train
interrupts
in
every
town
important
too.
conversation we have.
Maybe that's the signal that our time is up. Well, I definitely took away the do a good job at the job that you're doing as a major takeaway from your comments. Do you have any other things you want to add, well, as we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I think just if there's any interest in administration, to pay attention to what's
Mhm.
out there,
Yeah.
even very young, right? Uh, Start setting some goals about what you want to do, and then you know pay attention to the university that you want to work at.
Mm.
As you had mentioned earlier, I do think there's a difference between giving advice to a doc student who's looking and someone who might be established at a current university. But
Right.
I do really believe that I'm not sure I would have been as an effective teacher at a different university, or hopefully as good of a chair at a different university, or certainly as an associate dean. I don't know that my skills would have worked at
Mm.
other types of universities. And so
Yeah.
for me, and what was important for me was, first and foremost, was to find a place that their values and my values were similar, and I thought I could be successful at the environment that they were creating.
Yes.
And then from there, I think you can start to identify positions that you might want to be at. And so if we're giving advice to someone who's looking, I would
Yes.
say, look first and foremost at the type of university that you want to be at and where you think you might be happy.
Right.
Because again, I think when you're happy and you enjoy coming to work, I think you do a better job, and that just kind of is a ripple effect. And so, you know, and that would be different advice, obviously, than somebody who's been established somewhere at a university. And then I can appreciate that might be a different conversation.
Right. Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
Well, this has been really interesting, and I really appreciate you spending time with me to talk about this. So,
Well, Heather, and I think it's been great for me, and I appreciate everything that Cosmo has been doing and continues to do to provide professional development. And so, yeah, if there's other things that I could do to help, I'd be happy to do so. But thank you for taking the time to do this. This has been great.
yeah, you are very welcome.